Good morning, YouTube. It's 10 a.m. in the great state of Texas, and it's also around 10:30 p.m. on Friday when I did this project, and it's 71 degrees in the workshop, so the conditions are right to turn this beautiful piece of wood into something awesome. So, got this piece of wood out of a grab bag that I had ordered a couple of months ago. You guys have seen me do some similar projects with these random bowl blanks. However, this one, it came in chunkier than the rest of them, so it's quite larger than most of the bowl blanks that come in these grab bags. They're just random pieces of wood that they throw in a box and sell to woodworkers, and this one is definitely larger than my previous ones. So if you guys watched my project that I did on Thursday, I attempted to make a pen blank that did not end up going so well. So all we're going to do in today's project is try to turn this thing into something cool, and then you're going to watch a little bit later as I try to turn that remaining pen blank into something that's just not going to turn out the way that I want it to. But don't worry, we will be doing pen blanks on the channel. I just have to figure out how to make them. But special shout out to everybody that left a comment on those videos, because I obviously do not know how to assemble a pen, and that was one of my biggest problems with the last project. So anyway, as you guys saw there, we're putting the faceplate on, and that will come back later to absolutely almost devastate this project. So faceplate's on, we got the blank onto the lathe, and now all we're going to do is turn this thing down and make a nice cylinder out of it, and we're going to try to get something cool out of this project. So every time I do a project where I feel like I kind of mess up, like Thursday's project, I just like to get something underneath my belt to say, hey, we can still do this, we know what we're doing, we just, sometimes things just don't go our way a lot of the time. So that was essentially the goal of today's project here. And, everything's going relatively well. The only thing that I had concern about was obviously the faceplate. For some reason, I don't know why, I have such trouble now putting on faceplates on the blanks. I don't know what the deal is. But, this part went relatively smooth. Everything's going relatively well. You can see here we're just working down the material, everything into a nice cylindrical shape, just like we do with all of our other projects. And everything's going, pretty smooth. Everything against the chisels is coming out real nice and neat. We're just determining, how much material we're going to take off so we can make a mortise, so we can cut this thing down. And then what we're going to do is come back and flip it and make a top and a lid for this thing. So here we are making the mortise, and this is where we start to run into trouble, because the faceplate screws did not go all the way into the blank, into the faceplate like I usually like. So I had to start and stop the lathe because I'm getting like a death wobble on this thing. So I'm going, okay, I don't have a lot of time. So I'm just really taking my time with the chisels, coming through, getting everything nice and even. And you can see there's a little bit of wobble that is obviously going to come back. I'm like, okay, it's done. And here I am stopping and starting the lathe, just like getting a feel for it. But I guess there was no issue, but it's going to come back a little bit later. I guess these screws were just far enough in there to where I couldn't notice it unless I made a catastrophic catch using the square carbide tool there. But now we're just parting everything in. This part went relatively well, not a whole lot of issues here. And then we're just going to take the tailstock off, and then that thing just pops right off, no issue. So I'm like, okay, at least we got the lid. And here I am adjusting it, trying to see if there's like a death wobble in it. And I'm like, okay, it's still going strong. So obviously when I make the mortise for this, the death wobble comes back just a little bit. But this part went relatively easy. Not a whole lot of issues here, just evening everything out. And next week's project, I've already decided, will be an epoxy project. So if you guys are looking for epoxy projects, I've got tons of blanks that I actually need to turn. But for this remaining project, we're just doing wood blanks. And here I am, just trying to make a mortise. And I'm really taking my time with this because I can see, you can't catch it in the video, but there is like a definite death wobble on this. And I'm like, okay, boom, set up, and we're all done. So hard part's over, and here I am trying to take out these screws, and they're obviously stripped. So it's the middle of the night. I know my neighbors probably hate my guts because this thing is just making so much noise, but I'm like, oh, screw it. The main majority of it is done. So here we go. Going to make the actual pop portion of this, and not a whole lot of issues after this. The actual issue that comes up is when I try to take something from a previous project and make it into something, and it just doesn't turn out the way that I want. But this part, for the remainder of the project, goes relatively well. And please excuse my voice. I'm kind of sick, and it's early in the morning when I'm doing this commentary, so I don't think I'm sick. I think I'm just tired, mostly. But here we are, going to start the actual gouging portion of it, and this part goes relatively easy. Not a whole lot of issues here. Once I got it, reversed on the chuck, it's pretty much smooth sailing from here on in. But got that all taken care of. And again, I don't know what kind of wood this is. I'm pretty sure I've worked with this before. I don't think it's red oak. I don't know what it is. Looking at all the bowls that I have over here on my little nightstand, I don't know what this wood is actually. I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell me. But really easy wood to work with. Not a whole lot of issues. So here we are. We're just sizing down how big the lip of the bowl is going to be, and then we're just trying to get a good fit so that the two pieces will attach. So once we got that done, now we can make a mortise for this side of it, and then we'll flip it and then make our little dome so that we can put our little handle on the top of it. But this part goes relatively easy, and then we're going to go and do my favorite part, which is sanding. Everybody knows how much I love sanding. It's my absolute favorite thing in the whole wide world to do. Just kidding. Nobody likes sanding. Just like nobody likes, sanding. Sanding is just horrible. I wish there was something easier to do for sanding. There just isn't. I remember when I first got into woodworking, I really liked sanding because that's where you really show just the grain of the wood and everything. But as I've gotten into woodworking, the more and more I do it, the more and more I hate it. But it is an important piece. So this is the actual lid portion here, and you can see all the shavings. It looks really cool. I'm like, cool little pot. And then there's all the wood shavings that go with it. But again, not too sure what kind of wood this is. I think this is some kind of oak. I'm not sure. Red oak, maybe. Maybe. I think it's red oak. I'm going to say it's red oak. But if you know what it is, leave a comment. So did our sanding, went from 50 grit, going to go all the way up to 120. This part didn't take any time at all. I need a new pair of gloves because, man, those are beat up. And then we're going to come back and just hit it with some regular wood wax. We're not going to do any shallow wax or Yorkshire grit on this one. We're just going to just do our normal wood wax, and that will suffice for what we're trying to do for this project here. And looks really good. And now this is where the real screwed up part takes place. So if you guys watched on Friday or Thursday's project, I used a pen plane, and what I decided to do was, that was perfectly good wood. I hate throwing away wood, even though you saw me throw it away at the end of last week's project. And I'm like, this could be the nice little handle for the lid. And I'm like, okay, that makes logical sense in my brain. And then I get to this part, and I'm going, okay, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. So then I shave it down a little bit to kind of fit the proportions of the bowl that I made on this project. And I decided I'm just going to cut it down and then divide it, and then I'm going to, polish it and add that to the top of the lid, because this is going to be the handle. That's essentially what I'm trying to do here. And I'm going, these are two very different grains of wood. They don't look anything like each other. And then I get a little too aggressive and then end up making the indentation for this piece a little too big. So I'm like, well, that's going to look stupid. But before we get to that part, I end up shining everything up real nice and neat. Just, look at the grain of this wood. I think this is red oak. It looks gorgeous. Once you, hydrate that wood, man, that looks really, really good. So, in spite of how small this piece of wood might be, this looks really good. I don't think it's red oak because it's too soft to be red oak. It's some kind of other wood. I'm not good at, wood naming at all. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I've said that multiple times. Sorry, I'm halfway asleep when I'm doing this commentary. But once we got the wood wax on there, it looks really, really good, I think. So, bam. And there that is. And I'm like, that looks stupid. Sometimes it's important to say something looks stupid and not adding it to your project, even though you put in work to help it. So what I did was go back to what I love doing, which is epoxy, because, man, look how horrible this camera shot is. So all I'm doing here is, again, sorry for the blurring. I couldn't see this when I did it. So I'm just adding some 15-minute epoxy to fill that gap on top, and I'm just going to let that dry, and it's going to look a lot better than my original plan. So even though it didn't go all according to plan, it came out looking really good. So I'm really happy how this turned out. I really like the color of this. I think that aqua blue really adds something to it. So hope you guys liked it as much as I did. We will be doing epoxy for next week's project. So hope you got something out of it. Hope you liked it. And again, if something doesn't look good, don't put it on there. And I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace. Alright, so project is done, and this little guy came out really cool looking. So, if you guys watched the project on Thursday, you guys saw me mess up that pen blank pretty good. And just wanted to get a win, and this was like a bigger piece of wood that I have no idea what it is. I'm pretty sure I've used it before, and I went over that in the commentary, but I like this little accent piece on the top with the epoxy. I think that looks really cool. So, I was going to use that pen blank that I had to, make a handle for the top, but just ended up just not doing that, just scrapping the whole idea together. But I really like how this turned out. The wood grain looks really, really good. Kind of had some problems putting the faceplate on there, and it kind of had some death wobble in there, but we got the project done, so that was pretty good. So really fun wood to work with. Don't know what it is. Maybe I went over it in the commentary, I don't know. But anyway, you guys are watching this tomorrow, and yeah. Maybe we'll get back to epoxy. It's 80 degrees here in Texas, so we'll probably do that here pretty soon. So hope you guys liked it. Hope you got something out of it. I've got other projects I need to do, so I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.